10-year note yields open up the week nudging higher, seeing a pretty narrow range from 405 up to 411, so only a 6 basis point range, but seeing yields settle at just shy of 410, ultimately up about 3 basis points today from Friday's close. Now recall last week we saw yields make a big move lower, moved down about 10 basis points last week after we heard from the Fed chair via his semi-annual testimony. And after last Friday's jobs report, yields do remain lower. They peaked on January 23rd up at 434 and have been moving lower ever since. Today we start the week off with a bit of a push higher, seeing yields close just shy of 410, ultimately waiting for that next key catalyst event, which coming up this week could be either CPI or PPI. Both are on the calendar. Now, what does this mean for volatility? Well, check out that CVol index over at cmegroup.com. And while we didn't see much of a range today in 10-year note yields, we did see yields nudge higher, and then thus we saw volatility nudging higher. So volatility was higher ever so slightly to start the week as yields moved higher. Lastly, let's talk about what we do have tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday, and we get the CPI data, one of the Fed's key indicators here. Inflation, which has been trending lower. The Fed would like to see that. They've made mention of that in several different testimonies over the last several weeks in order to begin cutting rates later this year. Ultimately, CPI will be the highlight of the week. We do have PPI later on Thursday, but right now the Fed ultimately looking at the consumer price index. Alongside of that, we will also get a 10-year auction. Today we had a 3-year auction, which was received very well. So ultimately, the key here is not necessarily the issuance, but the demand. Will there be demand there for the 10-year note issuance tomorrow? And that'll be interesting to watch as well. So starting off the week, we see 10-year note yields creeping higher, getting ever so closer back to 410 ahead of tomorrow's key CPI data and a 10-year auction.